Madison Vandermeer walks into Judge Frank Caprio's courtroom like she's stepping onto a red carpet at the Met Gala. The 23-year-old heiress has her Hermes Birkin bag dangling from her wrist, the kind that costs more than most people earn in a year. Her Cartier diamond bracelet catches the fluorescent courtroom lights, sending little sparkles across the wood-paneled walls. She's wearing Chanel sunglasses even though she's indoors, and her designer heels click against the marble floor with a rhythm that screams entitlement. Behind her walks her personal assistant, a nervous young woman carrying Madison's phone, her bottled water, and what appears to be a makeup bag. Madison doesn't acknowledge the bailiff when he announces that court is in session. She doesn't stand when everyone else rises for Judge Caprio's entrance. Instead, she's scrolling through her Instagram feed, occasionally laughing at memes and completely oblivious to the fact that she's supposed to be showing respect. When the judge enters and takes his seat, Madison sits down before he even gets the chance to tell everyone they may be seated. She crosses her legs, leans back in her chair, and stage whispers to her assistant loud enough for half the courtroom to hear. "I have a spa appointment at 2. This better be quick." The reason this billionaire's daughter is standing in Providence Municipal Court is serious. She's here because she crashed her Maserati into a food truck in downtown Providence and then drove away while the elderly owner lay bleeding on the pavement. What makes it worse is that she was live streaming the entire incident to her 2 million Instagram followers. This isn't even her first offense. It's her third reckless driving charge in just 8 months. The previous 2 times, her father's high-powered lawyers made the charges disappear like magic. Madison has lived her entire life believing that money can solve any problem, erase any mistake, and buy any outcome. As she sits there scrolling through her phone, she's completely confident that today will be no different. Her father's legal team has already submitted motions. They've made calls to people who know people. In Madison's mind, this is just a 10-minute formality before she heads to lunch at the country club. The judge is just another obstacle that daddy's money will remove from her path. She's already planning the Instagram post she'll write later about being unjustly persecuted by a legal system that doesn't understand successful people. What Madison doesn't know is that Judge Caprio's courtroom is where privilege goes to die. In exactly 8 minutes, this entitled heiress will do something so shocking that it will become the most viral courtroom moment of the decade. Before we continue, if you're over 50 and believe that no amount of money should place someone above the law, subscribe to Judge Stories. Now let's witness what happens when a billionaire's daughter meets real justice. The bailiff steps forward and announces in a clear, professional voice, "The state of Rhode Island versus Madison Elizabeth Vandermeer." Madison doesn't even look up from her phone. She's typing a response to someone's comment on her latest post. Her assistant has to tap her shoulder twice before she realizes someone is trying to get her attention. Madison rolls her eyes dramatically and lets out an exaggerated sigh. Finally, she mutters, clearly annoyed that her scrolling session has been interrupted. Judge Caprio looks up from his papers with the calm, patient expression he's maintained for 40 years on the bench. "Good morning, Miss Vandermeer." Madison glances in his general direction for maybe 2 seconds. "Yeah, hi," she says casually. "Not your honor, not sir. Just the kind of dismissive greeting you'd give someone holding the elevator door." Judge Caprio opens the file in front of him and begins reading the charges in a steady, professional tone. "You're charged with leaving the scene of an accident causing injury, reckless endangerment, and driving under suspension. These are serious charges that carry significant penalties." Madison is still on her phone, barely paying attention. She waves her free hand in the air dismissively. "My lawyer's already submitted everything. Just tell me what the fine is so I can Venmo it and go. I have things to do today." The gallery behind her erupts in quiet murmurs. Several people shake their heads in disbelief. An elderly woman in the third row whispers to her husband, "Can you believe this girl?" Judge Caprio sets down his pen and looks directly at Madison. His voice remains calm but carries an unmistakable edge of authority. "Miss Vandermeer, please put your phone away and show this court the proper respect it deserves." Madison looks up for approximately 2 seconds, her face showing genuine confusion about why anyone would interrupt her important social media activities. Sorry, what? She doesn't put the phone down. I'm dealing with an emergent. Sigh here. My stylist double-booked me for tomorrow, and we need to figure this out right now. Judge Caprio's expression doesn't change, but everyone in the courtroom can feel the temperature drop several degrees. Miss Vandermeer, I don't think you understand the severity of these charges. You injured a 67-year-old man and fled the scene of the accident. The victim suffered serious injuries and lost his livelihood because of your actions. Madison finally lowers her phone, but only because she needs both hands to gesture dramatically. Look, Judge, whatever your name is, that guy's food truck was illegally parked anyway. My Maserati has like $30,000 in damages. The front end is completely destroyed. If anything, he should be paying me for parking his janky little cart where it didn't belong. The courtroom erupts in audible gasps. Several people in the gallery lean forward in their seats, unable to believe what they're hearing. Judge Caprio remains perfectly still, his hands folded on the bench in front of him. His decades of experience have taught him that the most powerful response is often silence. He lets Madison's words hang in the air for a long moment, allowing everyone present to fully absorb what she just said. Then he speaks quietly but with unmistakable authority. Miss Vandermeer, I'm going to show you some video evidence. I want you to watch it very carefully. He nods to the bailiff, who dims the courtroom lights and activates the large monitor mounted on the wall. The screen flickers to life, and suddenly everyone in the courtroom is watching Madison's own Instagram live stream from the night of the incident. The timestamp shows it was just after midnight on a Saturday. Madison is behind the wheel of her white Maserati, and the phone is propped up on her dashboard. She's holding a champagne flute in one hand while steering with the other. Two of her friends are in the car with her, and all three of them are laughing hysterically about something. Madison's voice comes through the speakers crystal clear. Oh my God, you guys, there's like this taco truck still set up on Westminster Street. Who even eats tacos at midnight? One of her friends responds, probably homeless people or something. Madison's laugh is sharp and cruel. Watch this. I'm going to scare the guy. I'm going to get really close and make him think I'm going to hit him. The camera shows the Maserati accelerating. The speedometer is visible in the frame, and it climbs from 30 to 50 to 60 miles per hour. The food truck comes into view, its colorful lights bright against the dark street. An elderly man is visible near the serving window, cleaning up for the night. Madison aims the car directly at the truck. Her friends are screaming with laughter. Do it, do it, do it. Then comes the sickening sound of metal crushing metal. The phone drops and the image spins wildly, but the audio continues. Someone screams. Madison's voice cuts through. Oh my God, my car, Daddy is going to be so mad. There's more chaos, the sound of the engine revving, and then Madison's voice again, surprisingly calm now. Did anyone see if that guy is okay? One of her friends responds, I think he's moving. He's fine. Let's go. The camera picks back up and now it's pointed at Madison's face. She's checking her makeup in the rearview mirror. That was crazy. Anyway, who wants to go to Club Azure? I heard they have bottle service specials tonight. The video shows the Maserati driving away at high speed. In the background, through the rear window, a figure can be seen lying motionless on the ground next to the destroyed food truck. The Instagram Live continues for another 3 minutes while Madison and her friends discuss which club to go to, as if they hadn't just destroyed someone's life. The video ends and the lights come back up in the courtroom. The silence is deafening. Madison is staring at the now blank screen, her face slightly pale but her jaw set defiantly. Judge Caprio's voice breaks the silence. Miss Vandermeer, that video was posted to your public Instagram account. It was viewed by over 300,000 people before it was taken down. Would you like to explain what we just watched? Madison shifts in her seat, her earlier confidence wavering just slightly. That video is taken completely out of context. I was scared after the accident. You can hear it in my voice. I'm just a girl and I was frightened and didn't know what to do. Judge Caprio's expression doesn't change. Miss Vandermeer, you left an injured man lying on the pavement and continued partying. You were laughing about going to a nightclub while he was bleeding on the street. Madison's voice rises defensively. He was fine. I saw him moving before we left. Besides, I had people waiting for me at my friend's birthday party. What was I supposed to do? Just miss the whole thing? Stand around in the street all night? Judge Caprio leans forward slightly. You were supposed to. Stop your vehicle, check on his welfare, render aid if possible, and call 911. That's what the law requires. That's what basic human decency requires. Madison actually laughs, a sharp, bitter sound that makes several people in the gallery wince. The law? Do you know who my father is? Harrison Vandermeer. He owns half this city. The hospital wing where you probably take your family when they're sick. My father donated that. The university where your kids probably went. There's a whole building with our name on it. So maybe you should show a little gratitude before you sit there lecturing me about the law. The murmurs from the gallery grow louder. Judge Caprio raises his hand and the room falls silent again. Miss Vandermeer, your father's philanthropy, while admirable, does not grant you immunity from the consequences of your actions. Judge Caprio closes the file in front of him and looks toward the back of the courtroom. I'd like to hear from the victim in this case. Mr. Miguel Torres, please come forward. An elderly man rises slowly from his seat in the third row. He's wearing a simple button-down shirt and clean but worn jeans. His right arm is in a sling and he walks with a pronounced limp, leaning heavily on a wooden cane. Every step looks painful. As he makes his way to the witness stand, the entire courtroom watches in respectful silence. Everyone except Madison, who has pulled her phone back out and is scrolling again. Miguel reaches the stand and the bailiff helps him settle into the chair. Judge Caprio's voice is gentle when he speaks. Mr. Torres, thank you for being here today. Can you please tell the court what happened on the night of September 14th and how it has affected your life? Miguel takes a deep breath. His English carries a heavy accent, but his words are clear and measured. Your Honor, I came to this country 42 years ago from El Salvador. I worked 3 jobs to save money. I washed dishes, I cleaned offices at night, I did construction on weekends. It took me 20 years, but I finally saved enough to buy my food truck. It was my dream. I called it Miguel's Tacos and I parked on Westminster Street 6 nights a week. I made good food, honest food. People knew me, they knew my truck. His voice wavers slightly, but he continues. That night I was cleaning up. It was late, maybe midnight, and I was putting away the last of my supplies. I heard a car engine getting louder and louder. I looked up and I saw headlights coming straight at me. I tried to move, but there was no time. The impact threw me 15 feet. I remember hitting the ground. I remember the pain. I remember looking up and seeing the car drive away while I was lying there bleeding. Miguel pauses and wipes his eyes with his free hand. I spent 8 days in the hospital. I had 4 broken ribs, a shattered collarbone, and a severe head injury. My right arm, the doctors say I have permanent nerve damage. I can't grip things properly anymore. I can't do the work I used to do. The food truck was destroyed completely. My insurance didn't cover the full cost because they said I was illegally parked, even though I had been parking in that same spot for 12 years and never had a problem. Miguel's voice grows quieter. Your Honor, I had saved $40,000 for my granddaughter's college fund. She wants to be a teacher. I spent all of it on medical bills and physical therapy. Now I can't work and I have nothing to give her for her education. I wake up every night from nightmares about those headlights coming toward me. He turns to look directly at Madison, who is still looking at her phone. I just want to understand. Why didn't she stop? Why didn't she help me? I'm a human being. Doesn't my life matter? Madison glances up from her phone with an expression of complete boredom. She examines her perfectly manicured nails while Miguel is still speaking. Judge Caprio watches her carefully and his jaw tightens almost imperceptibly. Miss Vandermeer, this man is describing how your actions destroyed his life. Do you have anything to say? Madison sighs dramatically. Is this almost over? I really do have that appointment. The gallery erupts in angry murmurs. Judge Caprio holds up his hand for silence, but his eyes never leave Madison. Miss Vandermeer, Mr. Torres just told you about his injuries, about losing his business, about depleting his granddaughter's college fund to pay for medical treatment that resulted from your reckless behavior. And your response is to ask if we're almost finished. Madison shrugs with one shoulder. Look, that's all very tragic or whatever. I'm not saying it's not sad. But my dad's lawyers already cut him a check for like $50,000. That's more money than his little taco truck probably made in 5 years. He should be thanking me honestly. He's getting a huge payday out of this whole thing. Miguel Torres' face crumples. He speaks so quietly that everyone has to strain tea. Oh, hear him, I don't want money. I want my life back. I want to work again. I want to provide for my family. Madison's voice is just loud enough to be picked up by the microphone. Well, you can't have that, so take the money and move on already. The courtroom explodes. People are shouting. The bailiff has to call for order multiple times. Judge Caprio stands up slowly. The action is so unusual that everyone immediately falls silent. When he speaks, his voice is quiet, but it carries the weight of 4 decades of judicial authority. Miss Vandermeer, in 40 years on this bench, I have never encountered such callous disregard for human suffering. Your lack of empathy is truly staggering. Madison stands abruptly and her chair screeches backward across the floor. Oh, you want to talk about callous? You're seriously going to lecture me? Do you have any idea what my family contributes to this city? My father employs thousands of people. We donate millions every year. Judge Caprio's voice remains level. Your family's contributions do not buy you immunity from the consequences of your criminal actions. This court will hold you accountable. Madison takes a step toward the bench, her voice rising. Accountable? You're going to hold me accountable? You're just some old judge who probably makes in a year what I spend on handbags. Don't you dare talk to me about accountability. Her assistant stands up and reaches for Madison's arm. Madison, please, you need to stop talking right now. Madison shoves her assistant's hand away violently. Get off me. Don't touch me. Judge Caprio's voice cuts through the chaos. Miss Vandermeer, I'm warning you right now. One more outburst and I will hold you in contempt of court. Sit down immediately. Madison's face flushes red with rage. She's breathing hard and her hands are clenched into fists at her sides. Contempt. You want to see contempt? She reaches over and grabs the water bottle from her assistant's hand. She takes a long drink and then, in a moment that seems to happen in slow motion, she spits the water directly at Judge Caprio. The water sprays across the bench, hitting the judge's face and soaking the front of his black robe. The courtroom falls into absolute silence. Nobody moves. Nobody breathes. For 3 full seconds, the only sound is water dripping from Judge Caprio's bench onto the floor. Madison stands there frozen, the empty water bottle still in her hand. Her face shifts from rage to sudden realization of what she's just done. But instead of apologizing, instead of showing any remorse, she doubles down. That's what I think of your little court. The gallery explodes into chaos. People are shouting. Someone screams, "Oh my God!" Another voice yells, "Arrest her!" The bailiffs rush forward and within seconds Madison is surrounded. They pull her arms behind her back and snap handcuffs onto her wrists. She struggles against them, still shouting, "Get your hands off me! Do you know who I am? My father will have all of your jobs." Judge Caprio slowly reaches into his robe and pulls out his handkerchief. He methodically wipes the water from his face and then from his glasses. His movements are deliberate and calm. When he finally speaks, his voice is quiet, but everyone in the courtroom strains to hear every word. Miss Vandermeer, you have just committed assault on a judge in open court. But before we address that crime, I want you to understand something. Madison is still struggling against the bailiffs, but she stops when she realizes the judge is speaking. Judge Caprio continues, his voice measured and steady. For your entire life, you have been shielded from consequences. Your father's money made your problems disappear. His name opened every door. You've never been told no in a way that actually mattered. You've lived in a bubble where other people weren't quite real to you, where their pain was just an inconvenience, where their lives were worth less than your convenience. That ends today, right here, right now. Madison's bravado falters for just a moment. She looks toward the back of the courtroom where her legal team should be rushing to her rescue, but they're sitting perfectly still with expressions of shock on their faces. Even the most expensive lawyers in Rhode Island know there's no fixing what just happened. You can't spin assault on a judge. You can't make that disappear with motions and procedural tricks. Judge Caprio addresses his clerk without taking his eyes off Madison. Miss Reyes, I understand we've received some phone calls in the last few minutes. The clerk nods and checks her notes. Yes, Your Honor. 3 calls in the past 5 minutes. The first was from Harrison Vandermeer's office at 11:41. The second was from his personal attorney, Richard Chen, at 11:44. The third was from Mr. Vandermeer himself at 11:46. All 3 callers demanded that all charges be dropped immediately and that Miss Vandermeer be released without any further proceedings. Madison's confidence returns slightly and a small smile plays at the corner of her mouth. See, my father is handling it just like always. You should have just let me go when you had the chance. Now this is going to be so much worse for you. My dad knows the governor personally. They play golf together every month. Judge Caprio's expression doesn't change by even a fraction. Miss Reyes, please return Mr. Vandermeer's call. Tell him that his daughter is being held on multiple criminal charges including assault on a judicial officer. Tell him that no amount of money, no political pressure, and no threats will influence this court's decision. And tell him that if he attempts to interfere with these proceedings one more time, I will hold him in contempt as well. Are we clear? The clerk nods, trying to hide a small smile. Crystal clear, Your Honor. The courtroom erupts in applause. People are standing up, clapping, some even cheering. The bailiff calls for order, but many people are smiling and nodding in approval. It's clear that everyone in this room has been waiting for someone to finally stand up to the Vandermeer family's sense of entitlement. Madison's face goes from confident to pale in seconds. You can't do that. You can't threaten my father. He's Harrison Vandermeer. He'll have your job. You'll be lucky if you're still a judge by the end of the week. Judge Caprio leans back in his chair, completely unmoved. Miss Vandermeer, I've been on this bench for 40 years. In that time, I've been threatened by mobsters who promised to harm my family. I've been threatened by drug dealers with nothing to lose. I've been threatened by corrupt politicians with actual power. I've been threatened by people far more dangerous and far more powerful than your father. None of them frightened me then. He certainly doesn't frighten me now. The doors at the back of the courtroom suddenly burst open with enough force that they slam against the walls. Harrison Vandermeer strides in, flanked by 3 men in expensive suits carrying leather briefcases. Harrison is in his early 60s, tall and imposing in a way that comes from a lifetime of getting exactly what he wants. His silver hair is perfectly styled. His charcoal suit probably costs $15,000. His Italian leather shoes click authoritatively on the marble floor. He walks straight down the center aisle, projecting the absolute confidence of a man who has never been told no in his entire life. Your Honor, I'm Harrison Vandermeer. We need to discuss this situation immediately. My daughter is clearly distressed and not thinking clearly. She's had a very difficult year and she's not in her right mind. I'm sure we can resolve this matter privately and sensibly, away from all these spectators. Judge Caprio doesn't stand. He doesn't even shift in his chair. His voice remains level and calm. Mr. Vandermeer, your daughter just assaulted me in open court in front of 50 witnesses. Unless you're here to apologize on her behalf, I suggest you sit down and remain silent. Harrison's confident expression wavers for just a moment. He's not used to being spoken to this way. With respect, Your Honor, my daughter is going through a very difficult time. She's been in therapy for anxiety and depression. She's dealing with enormous pressure from social media and constant public scrutiny. She made a terrible mistake in a moment of emotional distress, but she's not a criminal. She's a young woman who needs help, not punishment. Judge Caprio's voice becomes harder, like steel wrapped in silk. She's 23 years old and she has injured multiple innocent people without facing any consequences whatsoever because you keep making her problems disappear. You've paid off victims. You've intimidated witnesses. You've used your money and influence to corrupt the legal system. Your enabling has created this situation, Mr. Vandermeer. You're as responsible for what happened here today as she is. Harrison draws himself up taller, his face reddening. Now wait just a minute. I've built this city from nothing. I employ thousands of people who depend on me for their livelihoods. I've donated millions to hospitals, schools, youth programs, and community centers. The Vandermeer name is on buildings all over Providence. Surely that counts for something. Surely my contributions to this community earn me the right to have a conversation about my daughter's future. Judge Caprio cuts him off sharply. And none of that, not one single dollar of it, gives your daughter the right to assault a judge in a court of law. Mr. Vandermeer, you have two choices right now. You can sit down and remain silent while I proceed with this hearing, or you can leave this courtroom entirely. Those are your only options. If you choose a third option, if you continue to interrupt these proceedings, I will have you removed by the bailiffs and I will hold you in contempt. Do I make myself absolve? Mutely clear. Harrison Vandermeer stands there for a long moment. His lawyers are whispering urgently to him, but he's not listening. He's staring at Judge Caprio, trying to intimidate him through sheer force of will. It doesn't work. Judge Caprio stares back with the calm patience of a man who has weathered far worse storms. Finally, Harrison's shoulders slump almost imperceptibly. He turns and walks slowly to a seat in the back row. For the first time in his adult life, Harrison Vandermeer's money isn't working. For the first time, his name carries no weight. He sits down heavily, and his lawyers sit on either side of him, looking deflated. Judge Caprio turns his attention back to Madison, who is now crying openly. Her mascara is running down her face in dark streaks. Her designer clothes are wrinkled from struggling against the bailiffs. She looks smaller somehow, diminished. Miss Vandermeer, I'm going to do something your father's money has prevented your entire life. I'm going to hold you accountable for your actions. He opens the file in front of him and begins reading in a calm, measured tone. For leaving the scene of an accident with injury, I'm imposing the maximum fine of $5,000. For reckless endangerment, an additional $3,000. For driving under suspension, $1,000. These fines total $9,000, and they are to be paid by you personally, not by your father or any trust fund or family account. Bank records will be reviewed by this court to confirm the source of payment. If your father pays these fines on your behalf, they will double and you will face additional charges. Madison is sobbing now, her whole body shaking. That's not fair. You can't tell my father what he can do with his own money. Judge Caprio's voice remained steady. I can and I am. These are your consequences, Miss Vandermeer, not his. He continues. I'm also suspending your driving privileges for 5 full years. You will not be permitted to operate any motor vehicle in the state of Rhode Island or any other state during that time. Madison screams through her tears. 5 years. How am I supposed to get anywhere? I need my car for everything. I can't just take the bus like some regular person. Judge Caprio responds without a trace of sympathy. You'll manage the same way millions of Americans do every single day. Public transportation, ride-sharing services, bicycles, or walking. Perhaps the experience of relying on public services will teach you something about the people whose lives you've treated as disposable. And now we come to the most serious charge. For assault on a judicial officer in open court, I'm sentencing you to 30 days in county jail with no possibility of bail, no early release, and no special accommodations. You will serve every single day of that sentence in general population. Madison's legs give out. The bailiffs have to hold her up as she wails. No, no, no. You can't send me to jail, please. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean it. I'll apologize right now. Judge Caprio shakes his head slowly. Miss Vandermeer, 30 minutes ago you could have apologized. You could have shown remorse. You could have acknowledged Mr. Torr's suffering. Instead, you mocked him. You dismissed his pain. You told him to take the money and move on. Your apology now, after sentence has been pronounced, is worthless. But Judge Caprio isn't finished. In addition to jail time and fines, you will complete 500 hours of community service at Providence Community Kitchen. You will serve meals to homeless and low-income families every Saturday and Sunday from 6 in the morning until 2 in the afternoon. You will do actual work, not pose for photographs or make token appearances. The The supervisor there will report directly to this court, and if you miss even one scheduled shift, your jail sentence will be extended. Madison can barely speak through her crying. 500 hours. That will take more than a year. Judge Caprio nods. Yes, it will. Perhaps during that time, you'll learn something about the value of honest work and the dignity of people who weren't born into wealth. There's more. You will also make restitution to Mr. Torres in the amount of $150,000 for his lost income, medical expenses, and pain and suffering. This payment will come from your personal assets, not from any family source. You will pay $5,000 per month for 30 months. If you miss a single payment, the entire remaining balance becomes immediately due. Madison's voice is barely a whisper. I don't have that kind of money. Then I suggest you get a job, Miss Vandermeer. A real job where you exchange your labor for wages like everyone else in this country. Judge Caprio closes the file. Miss Vandermeer, your father's wealth has been a prison, not a privilege. It's prevented you from ever learning empathy, from understanding consequences, from developing into a complete human being. For the first time in your life, you're going to face reality. And maybe, just maybe, you'll emerge from this experience as someone worth knowing. Bailiffs take her into custody. As Madison is led away, still crying and calling for her father, Miguel Torres stands slowly. He watches her go, and his expression is not triumphant, it's sad. He turns to Judge Caprio. Your Honor, I don't feel good about this. She's someone's daughter. Judge Caprio nods with understanding. Mr. Torres, you're a better man than most. But sometimes the greatest kindness we can show someone is letting them face the consequences they've earned. It's the only way they can learn to be better. The courtroom slowly empties. Harrison Vandermeer sits alone in the back row long after everyone else has left, his head in his hands, finally understanding that his money couldn't protect his daughter from herself.